if I didn't have these pictures that way. And you know.
Oh no! That's not good. I don't know.
Stuff away. Well, that's okay. You gotta go back to the other screen anyways.
I do. How's it going?
All set?
Yep. All set.
Okay. Still coming up.
We got some minutes.
I don't want to miss the opening.
It's gonna be crazy. Come in and then look around.
You look really cute.
Always gotta practice that video.
Thank you.
Most of the kids there are all
Patrick smiling appropriately.
Of course not.
so if you have any
Even if I take like 3 photos.
ACT most people, if you have like at least.
Well, I just saw the photos there.
I would send my moderation.
There's 2 or 3% who work on that for homeschool.
Yeah.
Literally 90% of people are people.
I was gonna say.
They got the prepaid back.
Absolutely. I'm not quite front row, but
Don't get too excited now.
oh, I'm excited. I think I'm a little too
Don't
excited.
get too excited.
Okay, fine.
Wait till you see my dance moves.
You can get too excited, it's fine.
No, I don't want you to be disappointed.
Is Patrick dancing?
No.
Isn't that so collaborative? You gotta stop collaborate and don't type anymore.
DJ.
Oh, that's fair.
That's the collab.
All right. That's fair.
Don't get your expectations too high.
A question?
I was promised dancing. Photos will be
You like
taken.
dancing.
I like you enough that I won't take a video.
Take whatever you want. This is going on YouTube anyway.
That's true.
I don't think I can stop that.
Oh my god. You should propose a session next year of like dancing with the text and it'll just actually dance right everyone. Everyone's just
dancing faster is faster, but I
yeah.
don't dance.
Exactly. False advertising.
False advertisements. Putting those things in their title unless they mean it. I want it to match our title, so we gotta make sure. Nothing misleading. Carol's here. Made it just in time for the dance show.
Maybe.
Oh yeah. I'll show you some dance moves.
Knock it up.
It's the only one I know.
If only we had a shot. That's all we would need.
We talked about that. We're like, oh, it should be the happy hour presentation, but we're not allowed to have alcohol on campus till 5:15.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, we don't have that rule at UGA. It's so much better.
They got it better than you guys do.
And then we'd be on camera doing it too, so it'd be even
Oh yeah,
worse.
even better.
Well, then we can advertise that we party, and then we'll get like twice as many people next time.
They should have like the after-hour session.
They should.
Like optional.
Libraries does that.
Really?
After like a dinner hour, like at 7, people come back and they do nights, and then those things where you have images, but you don't know what they're going to be in your presentation. And the people are hooting and hollering. It sounds like fun.
It's fun.
That would be fun.
Exactly.
This is about the crowd you expect
Like,
at this
I
time.
am eagle, I'm ready.
Yeah. You want anything blocking your view?
As a student, you're just gonna stare at your professor like this.
Let's look to the middle of the room.
Teach me law.
They walk out. I don't know.
Catwalk approach. Talk about things.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, I want to go like up and down that. I probably should just
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Well, it's 4:01.
give them like.
Yeah.
Now I'm like getting all nervous. I'm regretting my decision. I'm regretting my decision already. It's all your fault.
That was the whole talk. I was like, if you want to do it, go for it.
It sounded like a good idea at the time.
It is. It's always a good idea. When challenged to do things on Facebook, you say yes. Maybe.
Oh man. What's that gonna do? Oh, thanks. That's kind of cool. Should we start?
Sure. I think if we start playing
Okay,
music.
give it like 3 seconds and I'm gonna come back.
All right.
Oh, she's totally.
Get your, weekend started. Hopefully it worked. I don't know. Not sure. I tried to get Patrick to dance. I offered him $3. He said no. He asked for 5. I said
5 would have done
money.
it.
So
We could have taken a poll. We could have pulled money before we started.
yeah, well, that was the collaborators, and he was the DJ, and he wouldn't play along. But his loss. I'm sorry you guys had to witness all of that. My apologies, but at least now you're only if you get a takeaway, your one takeaway would be that I am a terrible dancer. So, all right,
Okay.
we'll get started.
This is Stop, Collaborate, and Listen. We are going to talk about collaboration tools. But before we get started, a couple things. Google Docs, Zoho Docs, Microsoft Office 365 all allow synchronous editing, sharing files. Google Hangouts lets you do conference calls. Zotero, Mendeley, share research notes. Yes, these exist. We're not talking about them. Because we
Stuff
figure
you already
you
know.
already know about these things, and even like tools that were similar to these, we're just like, these other things that everybody knows about does them better, and we feel kind of stupid standing up here talking about them. So we're going to try to do some new things, hopefully.
So why would you need collaboration tools? Well, collaboration, we all do it, right? whether it's in the office with the people you work with, or collaborating with a colleague who's 5 hours away. And I like Patrick, but I don't like him enough to drive 5 hours to do a presentation and work on it and drive back. So it could be your colleague, and it doesn't matter if you're a librarian or you're in IT or you're a professor, you gotta do it. And if you're not collaborating, you're probably in the wrong field. And you can talk to me later, we can fill out one of those questionnaires and figure out what you're supposed to be doing. But sometimes when you collaborate, there's a lot of pains that go along with it, right? Especially when you're working on a project with 10, 15 people, and you open your email, and there's endless email threads going on. You don't know where it started, you don't know which files were sent. Later you want to go back, you have to search for it if you don't have your emails organized. It can be a really, really big pain, and Patrick knows we're working on something for our SEAL committee work, and he can give you an example of how you woke up to a huge thread that I started, and you didn't know where to begin looking for it. But that's just the beginning of it. So you have other problems like, as I mentioned, the distance. If you're working on my project with someone far away, coordinating schedules. Patrick and I do not have the same kind of schedule, so finding time to even make a phone call could be really hard sometimes. And of course, organization. You gotta keep all your project details and files together. You want a fast and easy way to get to that, where you don't have to fumble through all kinds of stuff to find it. And then if you're working on something like writing a book chapter together, you might want to see how you can have multiple drafts and see all the different versions and when the changes have been made, etc., and kind of track it and go back in an orderly manner. And then of course there's technical difficulties. Technology is a double-edged sword. Sometimes, you get a bad internet connection, you get cut out, things of that nature. So possibly any programs where you can come back to it and you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And maybe all the time.
Okay, so we think we've got some tools to help you solve these problems. The first one being Slack. Some of you might have had some exposure to Slack because there is now a CALIcon16 Slack channel.
Which they stole from us.
Yeah.
We put in this program proposal a while ago.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
Come to your own conclusions.
You got the ISV, right?
yeah.
Yeah, we put this in months ago. The Slack channel is maybe a month old. Maybe Callie knows about all the new technologies, and maybe they steal them from Patrick and Avery.
You decide.
You decide. What is Slack? Think instant messenger meets email, thread meets productivity app meets awesome. We've all had this same thing happen to us so Avery and I are on this committee together, and it was decided that we were going to redo this brochure. So this email thread, and it's the same email thread we've all seen a million times. It starts out, hey, let's do this thing, and then somebody responds like, yeah, great idea. And then there's 7 more. Yeah, that's a really great idea. So now we're at 7 emails. Then somebody's like, oh, we should try this one thing. And then everybody goes, yeah, great idea. So then we're at like 20 emails. And then that just keeps on building. And then finally someone proposes something, and then they start discussing it, and then there's more great idea emails, responses. But then what happened with us was Avery proposed something, and I was in the middle of doing research assistant training. So I was in and out, and I wasn't paying as much attention as I should have been. And I missed one of the important ones that she sent. And then people started talking about the thing that she proposed on Monday, and I'm like, I have no idea what this is talking about. Like, how did I miss this? So my options at this point are to go and look at the email thread and trace over all the arrows over and see if I can figure out where this email is, or go back in my email history and try to figure out where in this thread this thing happened. So this kind of communication is difficult. Slack helps you solve this kind of thing. But before I start showing it how, as most things work these days, there is a desktop client, so you can download something to your desktop and just have a little Slack icon in your taskbar. Pull it up. It's really easy to get to. There's you can go onto the web page, which is I'm going to do today, and there's also a phone and tablet app. So features: channels, /commands, apps, bots. I use these to manage my GRAs. I took over for Austin, this year. This is a development. He's going to be jealous. So I manage the reference desk, graduate student assistants here at Georgia State. I know everybody has kind of different management styles. I'm a big proponent of everybody being on the same page in an easy sort of way. We could do this a couple of different ways. We could have everyone send an email at the end of their shift if anything weird happened. We could have sort of an informal conversation. I think Slack provides us with a better option. So here's what I did. I set up this Slack channel. I just entitled it Ref GRA. I invited all of my GRAs on here. And I created 3 channels. This is how you organize your Slack. So there's a general channel. So if we go into general, something happens, something weird happens, some difficult person comes in, you had some question that you didn't understand, post in the general channel, I'll get back to you. Maybe the other ones will get back to you. It works really well. Info docs, I made an info doc channel. So we have all this documentation on how to do things at the reference desk. I just dumped them all, I uploaded them all into Slack. So you can upload Word documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, pretty much anything, pictures, all into Slack, and they show up like this, and then I pinned them. So if you go like this, it'll show you. Actually, it won't. Maybe not on the web one, but you can pin them so they won't go away. And then projects. They have projects while they sit at the desk. Instead of sending them emails all the time, assigning little things to everybody, I just post things in the project channel, put things in the common folder on our communal drive, and they work on them as they go. And then they let each other know how far they've gotten in the project and what they've done, how things are going. Now I'm going to show you a couple things that Slack will do for you. The really cool thing about Slack is that it has all these cool integrations. So, and this is our Cali collaboration team. So the first one are slash commands. So everybody can think back to when we used to have to type commands into MS-DOS. Kind of works like that, but much easier. So let's say, what's that?
We're on a different channel.
Oh, we're on the Cali Crushers. I think I have it on this one. This is the one that'll work. So let's say I have to remind somebody to do something. Let's say I'm going to remind Avery to come to the presentation.
Which is very important because I would have forgotten.
Right. I can just go in and type remind. And spell it right. Avery, come to presentation at 4:15.
It means I would have been late, so thanks a lot.
So then it'll automatically send Avery a message through the Slack channel to remind her to do this at 4:15. Really cool, really easy, really fast. One thing that can be kind of difficult is that you might not remember all these slash commands, but it's easier than it looks. If you just type the slash, it actually will auto-populate a bunch of the most popular ones. And then even for some of the more difficult commands, like remind, you can actually do all sorts of different reminds. You can remind yourself, you can remind your partners, you can remind everybody. So you can just go to remind help. And it'll actually give you a bunch of different options and different ways to use remind. So it seems a little bit daunting at first, but it actually ends up being really easy. The next really cool thing about Slack is app integration. There's a whole bunch of apps. Actually, if you go, you can type search or just apps. So /apps, and you can search for different apps. Some of the really neat ones, you can do /hangout, and it'll start a new Google Hangout in this channel. So all you have to do is click on the Hangout button, and it'll automatically start a video call. So let's say you're working on something, and you say, okay, well, we all need to talk about this project at some point. Let's do a conference call, or let's do a Skype. Instead of sending out the invite to everybody and doing all these things, you just come in to Slack, type /hangout, start it, and it'll start the Hangout. Everybody can join. It's really easy and provides you with a common link. Another integration, something we're going to talk about in a minute, is Trello. It's a project management software. You can hook your Trello into Slack, so every time that you complete a task, it will post to the Slack channel. So if you're wondering what your teammates are doing, as they're finishing tasks and moving them over into the progression, it'll be posting into Slack. And I'll show you that in a minute when we do it. The last thing that I think is really neat about Slack are bot integrations. Basically, people have built bots to do smart things in the Slack channel. And actually, if you're savvy enough, they give you the API so you can create your own bots to do things in your Slack channel. One of the cooler ones I found is one called Mecan. I actually didn't even invite Mecan into this channel yet because I wanted to show you how you could do that. So I could just go invite, and then we'll invite Mecan in. Now he's here, or she. And what this one does, it integrates with your Outlook or Google calendars for everyone who's on the team. So let's say Avery and I want to have a meeting, and we've both set our accounts up in Mecan already. I go in and type Mecan. Schedule meeting for next week. And it'll come up and it'll search everybody's calendar and come up with a time next week when everyone's free. You could do schedule for next. Yeah.
You
You could.
look at everybody's calendars on Outlook and try to figure it out, which is usually what I do.
Yeah. There's another really cool one. So it gives you this poll. You can also do your own poll. So if you just go poll, and then where do we want to eat? Anybody have any good eating options around? Anybody eat anywhere good recently?
Probably not.
Applebee's. Oh, Grindhouse. Do Momo's, my spot.
I'm not texting, I'm actually using it. Don't worry.
Or Fred's house. I don't know Fred. Then it'll post to everybody. It'll just give you a simple poll. Yeah, let's say I want to pick 2. And then it'll give you what everybody's voting on. So it's really cool. It has all these really cool integrations. It makes communication within your team really easy. Everything doesn't work for everyone, but there's all these cool different integrations. Mecan will actually find you flight information. So if we type Mecan, find a flight to Chicago next. Oh. I'm missing. Oh, so you have to put your original location. They don't know we're in Atlanta, so. Man, all right.
Do it again, do it again.
I'm gonna make it work because it's pretty cool. You'll find a flight. I know someone in the mainframe won't take too long. Then you can just click on these and it'll actually auto link you to the flight and you can book. The earliest and shortest I got gives you the hyperlink. You can click on it. $103 with Spirit Airlines next Thursday at 7:09 a.m. I mean, it's just, yeah, it is a good deal. It's slick. So it provides all this cool functionality. Okay, and that's all I have with Slack. The next thing I have, Trello. So it's basically, has anyone ever been in maybe a website redesign or some tech thing where you have that giant board of Post-it notes? We've got like all your to-do Post-it notes, and as you get them done, you move them over and you move them over. Trello is the same thing, except online with more functionality. As I get done saying that, I'm just going to get out of it. So Trello is organized by boards. As I've messed with it more and more, you can use boards for smaller tasks. We have one for our Cali collaboration presentation. And basically it allows you to make lists and cards. So let's say we messed up and we're gonna redo this presentation in a couple of weeks and we forgot to come up with a snappy opening. Oh, so obviously my dance moves were lacking. So practice dancing.
I'm gonna need to do that too.
So we'll practice dancing. And then we can go on here and we can add members. So we both need to practice dancing. So we'll assign this task to both of us. We can add a checklist. So dance moves. We'll do the stanky leg. And what are some other good dance moves? That's the only one I know.
Apparently I only know the Macarena, so.
We're already good at the Macarena. Some other one. Yes, the hokey pokey. Okay.
Behave yourselves.
All right, so we've got our card. Let's say we're practicing dancing. It's on the to-do list. We're actually going to start doing it. We can just move it over on here into the doing part. And let's say we've been practicing, we've got the stanky leg good, and we did that other one. We're all doing the hokey pokey, turning ourselves about. We see we've completed all 3 of our tasks on our checklist. We can move it into the done. And cool thing, the reason that's making that weird noise is that this is feeding everything into Slack. So see, it has a Trello list and it says, we created this new card called Practice Dancing, new checklist. We've got all these new items. We've moved the card. You can change this, the settings. It actually gets kind of annoying when it feeds every single thing you do in Trello into Slack. It creates this big long list, but if you just want things that you've completed, you can just tell it whenever you've completed something or check the checklist or whatever. You can add as many cards as you want. If I want to create more lists, it lets you create. You just drag over, we'll add another list. We'll just put notes about dancing. And we can add cards to this too. This, you can add anything to cards that you would really imagine. You can drag Word files in, you can drag PDFs, you can drag videos, hyperlinks, whatever. It's really easy integratable. It's a really nice thing for visually tracking progress. I always think about if you've ever done committee work and you get some project, you're never really sure where anybody is. Some task goes out and you're like, all right, we'll work on that. And then you're trying to assign tasks in an email, and like we said before, the emails are flying and nobody's really sure what anybody else is doing. This allows you to make a really nice, clean, linear list of what everybody's doing. You can assign things to different people, you can have checklists, and you can see that the process is getting done. And that kind of thing. For someone like me who gets easily agitated when I'm not sure something is happening, it's really kind of invaluable.
Yep, and you saw me, I was playing on my phone. I was actually checking all of that. So it's really nice that they have mobile apps. So I have all the apps loaded and they'll pop up on my lock screen and I'll know what's going on in Slack and in Trello. But Slack with channels, it's just like a TV. If you don't want it on, then you can turn off the channels, then you don't have to worry about getting a bunch of messages from Patrick about when we're gonna do the presentation. But things like that, I think the mobile integration is a really huge key because then you can take all this on the go and then you don't have to worry about going back and checking your email and your Word docs and everything like that.
Yeah, it's actually, sometimes I get a message. Like I got a message the other day, it was a Sunday, and the air conditioning went out. So one of the GRAs posted on Slack, she's like, hey, the air conditioning's out, just FYI. And it's just much easier, for some reason for me, it's much easier to respond to that than to check my email and go back and respond. I was just like, oh, that's terrible. If it gets too hot, you can go home. She's like, I'll be fine, I'll tough it out. So it was great. But it's easy to answer quick little questions like that. You don't have to open everything up. It's just like a old school chat box.
I think with Trello, I think it's good for people who are more visual because then you can see all your post-it notes and things like that. So if you're the kind of person that needs to see everything in front of you, that would be an upside to Trello and also Slack.
You find yourself getting tied up between, you actually still maintain email, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having to flip back and forth is like an additional.
It's a cultural thing, kind of. Like, once you get it rolling and everybody's used to using it, it works well. But there's always, like when I first started doing it, there's that initial tension. When I would put something on Slack and be like, oh man, hope they check this. And then I'd think like, oh, should I send an email? And I'd be like, no, I'm just gonna let it go. Like once we established this as the way we were going to communicate, then it rolls. Because everybody sees that it's sort of easier and more streamlined. So it's like starting anything new, any new technology, you know. Once you get the buy-in, you're golden. Yeah.
We use a different tool than these ones I'm familiar with. For some of the people that I work with, we've just found that email is not something that I can get them out of because of the projects that they're in. So we've been using and
I'll be talking about that in just a minute.
Post-its is more like an outline, and there's lots of ways to group things and hide things. There's a lot of different tools out there for project management now. If you get 5 of them right off the bat, because it's a challenge for.
And one of the really nice things about Slack that I kind of forgot, when you have a big team, like let's say we have 20 people in our Slack team, and you have a small project, let's say we get a faculty project that comes in, and there's going to be 4 of us working on it. We can create a new Slack channel called Faculty Project for Professor Bob, include the 3 people on that, so it doesn't have to go out to everybody, and just talk on the new channel. And it avoids everybody else having to hassle with it and deal with it.
And a lot of this is a generational thing, right? A lot of these programs are being used in big companies like Facebook and I don't know, some other companies. So it's really a generational thing, and I think what is good about it is if you find a program that you like and you start to use it with your team. Like for instance, I know my students, they won't check their emails for anything, but they like Snapchat and they like texting. So if they get a pop-up for Slack, if I force them to go on Slack, they are more likely to know what's going on than, you know, receiving an email and then checking the email 3 days later and it's not timely. So I like to think of it as another way to do promotions, marketing, things like that.
We have a faculty member who would like the entire law school to be on Slack. But he did use it for his online course, like you described, with his students very successfully. So.
Yeah. So I think the key is just to find what you're comfortable with and then see if you can get your team on board with using it. And once you know that that's what you're using, you'll probably, you know, slowly move away from email and let email be, reference questions and things of that nature where they're just trying to contact you instead of organizing it as using it for projects, etc. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Skype for a little bit. I know you guys are like, Avery, you promised you wouldn't talk about things we already know about, but I want to use this as an example of a tool that pretty much everyone probably has already preloaded onto their computer. It's a Microsoft tool, so if you have Office 365, it's probably already there. Your phone probably came with it, your tablet, etc. So the idea of this is to let you know that there are probably tools on your computer that you didn't know all of the functions and features that they have to offer. And it's nice to know because then you can have those free functions and you don't have to go and spend a lot of money on another tool just to do the same thing that this tool already has. So for Skype, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but if you have the free version, you can do video conferencing, of course you know that, but you don't have to have everyone sign in with their Skype account. So you can send out a link to people and they can just join your Skype conferencing. It's free, it'll take up to 10 video cameras, and then the rest can be audio. But I was thinking about it because a friend of mine works at the 2nd District Court of Appeal in Florida, and she was saying that's what they use at the courthouse to do all their video conferencing, and that way they didn't have to spend any extra money, and all the judges know how to use it, and it was actually really pretty simple to use, and it has all these cool things that you can do screen sharing and send and receive files, and everything's free, right? So if you want to take it another step further, your institution may already have this, which is the business version. So it was formerly called Microsoft Link. So at UF we have it, and it looks like an instant messaging thing, and it's a part of Skype. I usually just use it to message my coworkers and ask them what time they want to meet up for lunch. And then I started thinking about what else it could do. This is not a free thing, but if your institution already has Microsoft 365, there's a chance that they already paid for the $5 per user per month to have it loaded. And it integrates with your Outlook calendar, so it knows everybody's schedule ahead of time. You can present directly from it if you're doing a live PowerPoint presentation, and the upside of that is, yes, you can do that through screen sharing, but if you present directly through PowerPoint, they'll have a little logo in the PowerPoint that says present through Skype. You'll have the HD quality of it on everybody's screen, and then it'll make all the images sharper, it'll move faster, etc. Instead of screen sharing where maybe the videos will start lagging, and I'm sure you've all experienced that during webinars and such. And then they also have other cool features like whiteboards, so you can annotate, like Patrick was talking about, we're going to do a poster and a brochure. We can throw that into the whiteboard and mark it up. In Skype, they have polls, they have Q&A sessions, which I'll show you a screenshot of that in a minute, and then you can record and play back everything that you're doing through the video conferencing through Skype for Business. And they have something called live sessions where you can broadcast to over 1,000 attendees. My fan club is not that big, so I probably would never have to do that, but just in case, you never know. And then another cool function they have is called a meeting lobby. So if you're all meeting for a video conference, you can select certain people to stay in this lobby area while you're getting ready. So for example, if you're using it to interview candidates coming in, I'm sure a lot of you do that through Skype, you know, you can you see that they're there, but you can kind of put them in a meeting lobby while you talk about them behind their backs, and then you can bring them back in. Things of that nature. Let's see. And so the Q&A function in Skype for Business looks like this. If you're doing a video conference about a meeting or a webinar, at the end, everybody can just type in their questions and it gets all organized, and you can pick and choose which ones you want to answer and in what priority. So I think that's kind of nice to have a Q&A function there also. Alright, so I was going to make a whole video about Skype for Business, but then I didn't, so I just stole this one from YouTube because they're going to say everything that I was going to put in my video. So thank you, Exactive, whoever that is, for making this, and I'm going to force you to watch it. funnier. But as you can see, I didn't know that UF had already had it, and it was already built in. So if you want to go back to your institutions and check your Outlook calendar and see if you already have it, then now you know what it can do, and you don't have to spend, like I said, extra money purchasing a product when you already have a product that has all of that built in. So the next app that I'm going to talk about is Asana, which you mentioned that you use very much. And I like it. This is one of my favorite ones because it's just a very simple, easy to use interface. I kind of sometimes get overwhelmed with Slack because there's just a lot of things going on at once. So I tend to like programs that have fewer functionality, but it does essentially the same thing, and it's a cleaner and neater look. So I forced Patrick to be on Asana with me all week, where I was sending him messages about what we were going to do for the presentation, and I'll show you guys some of that. And by the way, I also like Asana because of the unicorns and the rainbows and the cats that I will show you in a minute. Anything to hype you up, right? Here's some screenshots of what we talked about earlier this week about our Cali presentation. So you can create a task list, you can assign certain people to it, and they go straight to my phone. I scheduled a nap the other day, and I checked it off, and it felt great. And there's my typo where I said, let's add some jokes in between. And Patrick was quick to say, always sit in between. And we had a good laugh about it, and then we bonded, and things were amazing. Oh yeah, I was gonna show you the actual Asana. So here's what it looks like on a desktop. I can add a new task, similar to Slack, and say, finish this presentation so we can party. Add it. I can set the deadline, and then I can assign somebody to it. And, which is just me right now. But you can see everything that's going on in your inbox. You have a calendar built in, so you can see when everything is due. You have your files where you can add the attachments, and like we said, it all integrates back to Slack. So there is an Asana integration that will pop up through Patrick's Slack channel because he likes to be on Slack instead.
It also lets you attach things from Google Drive and Dropbox.
Yeah, absolutely. So it has
Stored somewhere else, you can make sure.
It has those integrations, and it also has this new thing of having a report created in Google Sheets. Whoops, don't look at my password. I'll show you what that looks like. So it can build in your analytics about how many tasks you've accomplished that week, what's still left on the board to do, how many people have been doing what they're supposed to be doing, etc. And so this is what it automatically creates from the dashboard. It has all the statistics about what we've been doing and all these graphs, number of assignments overdue, and what we haven't done yet. So you can see Patrick and Avery probably failed because we have a lot of incompletes left. So I think that's kind of cool to just have your built-in analytics and see what you've done for the whole year, if that's what you're going to start doing with ongoing projects. So you have that. You can have team conversations where we message each other back and forth. I sent Patrick the link to this PowerPoint earlier through Asana, and he was able to open it. This is the only task board we have open. I can heart things, so Patrick knows he did a job well done.
Positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement, very, very important. Which leads us to the next thing where it's about unicorns. So every time I check off these little check marks, what happens is they tell me that I'm doing an awesome job by showing me some unicorns. and it makes me feel really good about finishing my task. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. This thing loads.
Get an email address for specific projects, and you can forward things to that email address, and it'll automatically show up in there. So if you have other people outside of your project giving you tasks, you can get them in there without having to do a lot of copying and pasting.
There you go. Exactly right. See? Makes me more motivated to finish my task. So I can see that. And I do not cheat by just checking it off, just to see the unicorn. And it also has cats. So many cats. More cats. So if you're having a bad day and you just want a pick-me-up, you can just keep doing this while you're in a sauna, and it'll make you feel very productive.
Or at least happy.
Or at least happy. And then just do it again. So occasionally they have these built-in hacks where you can turn it on. The cats thing is pretty popular. I don't know what they're going to come up next, but it's just something nice that I like to use because it's really easy. It doesn't have that many things that I have to follow along with, but it still gets the job done. And like our attendee said, it also integrates with your email and does a lot of other cool things as well. All right, so you're probably thinking there's too many choices. If you look up collaboration tools on Google, you'll probably find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. You can download all of them. They'll all essentially do almost exactly the same thing at the end of the day. It's just going to be different interfaces and different platforms. So it can be overwhelming, right? Which one do you choose? Do you stick with that? Is it compatible with your Mac or your PC? Or are people on your team going to actually use it? Or is it going to die out in a year or two and then a new product comes in? So my advice for that is just to find a brand that's really well known and listen to other people's reviews and feedbacks about it. And if it's been going on for at least 3 or 4 years, it's probably making a lot of changes throughout the years, and hopefully it won't go bankrupt, and then you won't have to start all over. And that would be my advice, is to just find one that you're very comfortable using and stick to that.
Yeah.
Such as
When we were doing it, it was kind of funny because we wanted to find like one more good thing. We had these other ones that we were all big on, and then we're like, oh, we should really like have 5. Like 5 is the magic number to have. We're like looking around. You would not believe how many garbagey programs there are that let you share files with other people. I was looking for like one really good thing that wasn't Google Drive that I could post files to and then send somebody a link and they can download the files. And there's a bunch, and they all do the exact same thing, and they're all dying. There's some that look like they were going to be really good, and then you couldn't sign up for them because the bottom had fallen out of the project. So in this modern age of weird venture capitalist apps, you sort of have to watch out what you're signing up for and getting used to using, because it might not be around for very long. I found one called Pearl Trees. It was actually kind of cool, but it had started out as this weird mind mapping thing, and then it just morphed into a file curation, picture curation thing. So it's a really mixed bag.
you don't want to add more stress to your workday, right? So having to learn a new product and seeing when new things come out, and as soon as you get comfortable, there's something new out there. So just do your research, check all the latest articles and magazines and see what's up and coming and good that people are actually using. So that's the key word. There are actually people using it for their companies, and they're saying it works really well for our teams. So if you go to Asana or you go to Slack, you can see promo videos of actual companies showing you how they use it and how long they've used it for and what's the best way to set up your projects. And I think that's a good telltale sign of whether or not it's functioning well. So we've come to our Q&A session, which we have 15 minutes left. So if anybody has any apps that they want to talk about that they're currently using, we'd love to hear it. Or if you have any questions for us, I'd like to thank Cali for bringing Patrick and I together. We actually met last year at the Cali in Denver, and Patrick was in watching one of my presentations, and I was like, hey, he's a cool guy. Let's just do animation together. So then we collaborated. So thank you, Callie.
Collaborate on collaboration.
And then the dynamic duo was born. This, was from our younger years. You didn't notice. Questions? Everybody's ready to get out. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
And if you want to see Patrick dance, just buy him 2 rounds of beers.
And $5.
Which I don't have.
I have $5.
Save that for later.
Never used a sign. That was really cool. That was great.
Couldn't get it to work for the longest time. I felt bad.
Why did you switch from that?
Never go wrong with cats.
Me the most.
The cats was gold.
Oh, you cats. So many cats. Alright, guys. Let's going insane.
All right.
Still out. I get them out in the phone. Like, I just told Deborah, I can tell that you are it's going to be recorded a much better manager for the next than I was.
DJs is supposed to be like the best barbecue.
If it gets too hot, they said, all right,
Yeah, still okay. They're kind of new, but they're all old. Like, they kind of been there for a while, so they're like us. Oh, they're all especially the one girl. Yeah, like definitely. When I'm talking to her and she's like, they look at me like, you're looking like the people look at me. Like she doesn't know what's going on.
Nicely done.
Exactly.
See, you never know.
Starting to go down.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a mile walk.
You're welcome to join us.
No, if I wanted to be there, exactly.
Place like 2 doors down.
For dinner?
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, I actually have some friends in Atlanta.
I thought you did.
I'm gonna meet a returning friend from law school.
Nice.
But we should definitely do something tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're, I'm gonna be a little more ready for your plant. Great. Or whatever it is. I need to have tequila ice cubes. So I'll have to check, I'll let you know.
Carol, now I have to go there. Maybe I'll just ask my friend if we can go there instead.
We can always go back down there and get one if we need to.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
I guess so.
I guess so.
I have a. It's exactly what it wants to do.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll leave you guys over there. Or maybe
But then,
We'll meet you back there.
Yeah, we have free jelly beans.
I've been there. They have free snacks and happy hour.
no, sorry, done.
Can't do that.
Drawing the line. And you can archive things and they
Yeah.
so far behind on this project. Exactly. And I was trying to figure out what private book out of that. But the idea is, especially since what's a good idea? Yeah, so I'm like, the hand stitching things, I can take with me and sit in the back. You have a quilter? Yeah. Yeah, we were joking about doing a CALIcon16.
Yeah. I gotta show you.
Yeah, actually, doing all the complicated part.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know, something like this, even if it's a simple line patch. So, lots of parts. So, and then by the end of what it looks like all sewn together. Big project, you know.
I did do the most complicated. Quilting the big ones.
It should be big enough for two people.
I did
a lap quilt or something.
a queen size.
Yeah.
For
Oh, my
son
arms
and
hurt
Barry.
getting it through my sewing machine.
Oh,
I was like wrestling with it. Afterwards, I was like, somebody needs to give me like a work down like I'm a, you know, fighter or something. This is killing my arms.
Wonderful. It's so much fun to know that somebody else is out there doing quilting stuff. Do you have like a guild you quilt?
I don't, because I'm so bad at keeping up with projects. So, like, some of these are you know, the hand stitching done, and the edging based it on. And
So
I
you're
can-
staying with somebody here?
Well, she actually lives down in. Pick it up at the airport once we're done with the conference, and then I'll drive down. Get her and drive back up here. Hopefully pay for the airfare. For whatever reason, Atlanta was. Parsons direct thing, so yeah, the hub thing, they just want everything to come through here, so I figured I'd take advantage of the timing. It's not that far, and I don't mind driving, so. Yeah,
Get some
exactly.
work done?
I
Oh, that's wonderful.
imagine I'm probably not gonna be doing much sort of vacation stuff, but if I can keep the kids to breathe, and that's all that I really want.
You're a good friend.
I was
That's
her
wonderful.
maid of honor at her wedding, and I haven't seen her for about 5 years, so the last time I saw her, like, crawling
And
around.
now she's been procreating with a vengeance.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, the most recent, like I said, are one of those things where I got very busy, and then visit her, she could just give birth, and it was like,
Not
at
a
this
good-
point, the
not a good moment.
The infants are close to a year old, but I think it's big enough that it won't be such an imposition. Citizens stay with their parents, but that's gonna work. Somewhere close by, because I'm not going to ask. Like, you don't need any extra, like, do I have sheets for a bed kind of.
Yeah, you know, like,
You're busy enough.
how old, well, the twins must be
They're,
babies.
yeah, they're a little under a year. So, yeah, exactly.
I'm chilling the whole weekend, baby.